Our campaign is not just about beating Trump. It is about transforming this country.
Bernie Sanders there, victorious in the New Hampshire primary, the first in the nation, locking in his front-runner status in the contest for the party's presidential nomination. Pete Buttigieg, though, remains in contention with a strong second-place showing.
And thanks to you, a campaign that some said shouldn't be here at all has shown that we are here to stay.
Buttigieg certainly going to be looking for a boost to his campaign from New Hampshire, but he also has a new challenger into the crowded center lane, and that's Amy Klobuchar, surging into the headlines this morning with her strong third-place finish.
Amy Klobuchar, and I will beat Donald Trump.
Her gains could mean more money and more media attention, but all of this means new questions for Joe Biden. He's been campaigning as the electable one and the best candidate to beat Donald Trump, but he, in fact, finished fifth. Let's join Katie Simpson up after the big, exciting results from last night. She continues to follow the race. She's in Hudson, New Hampshire for us this morning, and good to see you, Katie. There you are outside, not the bus, but a Bernie, I guess, field office or campaign office. It was a big night for him.
It wouldn't be more exciting to be near a bus, but again, we don't happen to be staying. The Biden camp left. They left last night. So if Joe Biden had had a better night, we might be having a bus moment right now. He might have stayed in New Hampshire. But alas, we're here at the Bernie field office in Hudson, New Hampshire. Well, one big headline out of this tonight is, one, there's a clear winner. There were no technical mess-ups in this round, so that's a good thing for the Democrats. I'll be very happy about that. The polling played out for the top two much how we expected. Bernie Sanders had been leading in the polls. He was expected to win this state. He did. Pete Buttigieg, the former mayor from South Bend, Indiana, he had been polling a consistent second. They had been... Okay, and see, people are shouting, saying, "Go Trump." So that happens. Actually, that's happened a lot when we've been down here, but we can talk about that later. Pete Buttigieg had been in second, heading into yesterday's vote, and that's exactly what happened. The big question was always going to be, who was going to come in third, and whoever did come in third, what does it say overall about this race? Senator Amy Klobuchar, who is a moderate candidate known for working across the aisle in Congress, she had a very strong third-place finish. Hugely disappointing night for Elizabeth Warren, who is a senator from a neighboring state, thought she could have some bout of hometown advantage here. And then Joe Biden, the former vice president, he had a very poor showing. It was so bad, he knew it was going to be bad. He decided to pick up and leave the state to focus on places where he might have a better shot. The state of South Carolina, where it's a more popular, or it's a more diverse population, and that's where he is going to find his support. At least that's what his team says. Now, the Amy Klobuchar win, or third place finish, this is the big headline of today, because what it says about the race overall is that there is a clear front runner for the Democratic Socialist wing of this party, Bernie Sanders. He has established himself in that spot. The party members now need to make a decision. Do they want to veer to the left and stick with him, or do they find a moderate candidate? And now there is a race to see who's going to be that moderate candidate. Is it going to be Senator Amy Klobuchar? Is it going to be former Mayor Pete Buttigieg? That's where the race is now down to, and you can see the division in the party, and the people within that party need to make their choice moving forward.
Or is it going to be Michael Bloomberg when he rejoins a little bit later on in the campaign? That's a whole other story thread. So I question. So you mentioned Elizabeth Warren and Joe Biden, fourth and fifth, not even cracking the 15% support, Katie, that threshold that gets them any delegates. They leave New Hampshire with 0 delegates as a result of last night. You were there with Biden's supporters. What are they thinking? Because there is, there is in the air the talk of maybe a very premature end to his campaign.
It was certainly a very sad atmosphere last night. I would argue that between the actual campaign staff and journalists, there were more campaign staff and journalists in that room than actual people to come in and watch the results, and that is always a very bad sign. Keep in mind, though, Joe Biden and his wife, Dr. Jill Biden, decided to leave town. Perhaps if they had stayed, it would have attracted a bigger crowd. But the atmosphere, people were not pleased, obviously, with the results that came out. And there is deep concern about the momentum here. However, we did talk to some supporters who say they understood why Biden left, that he's got a job to do, he's got to focus on what's coming up next. And they seem to have the attitude that this is just mile 2 in the marathon.
I think he knew what was happening up here. It was beyond him doing anything at that point, and I think he can make up for the difference down there. So I thought it was a good move.
I think it's a very important moment for him, and I think he needed to get down there right away and shore up the support that he has and remind people what he's done. And I think that's going to happen pretty rapidly as soon as they see more of him.
Now, one factor that you've mentioned, Heather, that no one is really discussing sort of because his name was not on the ballot, that is Michael Bloomberg. He spent hundreds of millions of dollars blanketing the United States with high-profile television ads, an ad during the Super Bowl. He's getting his name out there to become a challenger to Trump. His name goes on the ballot on Super Tuesday on March 3rd. And so until then, until that time, there aren't going to be any real tests to see how he disrupts this field right now, this horse race that we're seeing between Bernie Sanders leading the progressive wing of the Democrats, Pete Buttigieg and Amy Klobuchar battling it out to see who's the moderate candidate. Michael Bloomberg shows up. Who knows what's going to happen?
Remember, he was even in the right. He was the write-in winner in that small community of Dixville Notch at midnight last night. So there are some people talking about him already. Katie, this is already shaping up to be so fascinating and really a direction that maybe nobody expected. Looking forward to our next conversation as everything moves on to Nevada next. Our Katie Simpson in Hudson, New Hampshire this morning.